Miranda Sips was a 12-year-old cheerleader from Christine, Texas. She lived with her mother, Denise Balbanetta, and her stepfather, Gerald Gonzalez. She had a sibling who lived with her dad. Now, it's not exactly clear what happened, but at some point, Miranda suffered a serious injury. And when it happened, her mom and stepdad did not seek medical help for her. They kept her at home, attempting to treat her with vitamins, smoothies, and oxygen. When things turned for the worse, they finally called 911, but didn't wait for EMTs. They started driving to the hospital. When EMTs finally caught up with them, they started to treat her. Miranda didn't make it. She passed away. And as the investigation continues into the nature of her original injury, her mom and stepdad have been charged with injury to a child causing serious bodily injury by omission. And tonight, everyone is wondering, why didn't they just get help for her?
I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. Every night at the end of the show, I remind everyone, please don't forget to hug your kids, and literally but figuratively as well, right? Like you've got to take care of your children, take care of children everywhere. But my goodness, the children in your own home. And we've seen child abuse. It happens. We've seen it on court TV. Shonda Vander Ark, awful, absolutely awful. Will be, I don't even want to call her a mother, but will be someone who filled that role as a mother, allegedly, and will be someone you'll never forget about because of what she did, the way she tortured her special needs child. Unbelievable. But it happens. We've seen moms that kill as well. Lori Daybell, convicted murderer, special needs child, her daughter, her teenage daughter. Unreal, right? The children who depend upon mom, dad, parents, they trust them, they look up to them, and they rely upon them. And when that trust is broken in a way like this, people get angry. People get very, very angry, and our system has to do something and handle these cases. But it's tough because this stuff is happening behind closed doors. And it's not necessarily something that, hey, people know something's going on over here. There's something we have to do. You know, we need to have more patrols inside the house. It doesn't work that way. That's because a child is supposed to be able to trust their parent, and it doesn't work out that way. Denise Balbanetta, that's who we're talking about tonight, a mother. Her daughter needed help. That's the bottom line. Needed help. Medical attention. And it did not happen. Instead, it seems like they were trying to give her smoothies. Like that was part of the treatment, a smoothie, like a sugary drink. That's not going to fix anything. So the sheriff spoke out, giving some more details about what happened here. And I don't know if all the questions have been answered, but let's take a listen to the sheriff, who seems to be taking this one very personally.
We became aware of this Monday, the 12th, shortly after 8 p.m. 911 dispatchers here at my office received a call from a lady that said her daughter was in need of medical attention, having trouble breathing, maybe even stopped breathing. EMS and deputies were dispatched down to the city of Christine, which is about 8 miles south of Jourdanton off of Highway 16 and FM 140, a small community. While the deputies and EMS were en route, the lady left with the child. The little girl was 12 years old. She's in junior high at Jourdanton High School and a cheerleader at Jourdanton Junior High School. So on the way here, my dispatchers made contact with them again and told them to pull off on the side of the road south of Jourdanton, which they did. And EMS was directed to meet him there on the Highway 16 and 140. That happened. The child was transported to Methodist Atascosa Hospital here in Jourdanton, and a helicopter was dispatched, but she was never airlifted. The child passed away in the emergency room at the hospital here. Of course, we immediately started an investigation, and my investigators learned that this little girl had sustained injuries on the previous Thursday, so 4 days prior in the evening. The injuries were severe and life-threatening, and instead of calling EMS or taking their daughter to the hospital, then they just left her in the house and tried tending to her, but she was primarily unconscious, unresponsive, incapacitated. She remained there at the home for 4 days and basically did not receive any medical attention at all. They did try a couple of remedies, like maybe trying to give her a smoothie with some vitamins. Of course, somebody that's unconscious, that's hard to do. She started having respiratory distress Monday, and that's when she called us for basically 4 days, 96 hours, more or less, after the injuries were sustained. As I said, we conducted an investigation. My investigators interviewed all the witnesses, interviewed the mother and the stepfather, and who told us this story of how they thought the injuries occurred and what they did and didn't do. Upon completing this initial investigation, we had probable cause to charge these individuals with injury to a child with serious bodily injury, which is a first-degree felony, by omission. So in other words, by failing to act and provide the little girl medical attention constituted omission, and therefore injury to a child by omission. Yesterday afternoon, officers from the sheriff's office went to Christine with arrest warrants, and we arrested the mother and the stepfather without incident. They've been booked into the Atascosa County Jail, and their bond has been set at $200,000 each. The mother is identified as Denise Balmanetta, age 36, and the stepfather is identified as Gerald Gonzalez, age 40. Our victim is Miranda Sips, age 12, and she would have been 13 later this month. She was sent for an autopsy. We're still waiting for the final autopsy results, which will be a little while. In the meantime, we have some investigating to do on different things, and we're following up on those leads. And at this time, I think I'll just see if y'all have any questions.
The type of injuries that she received, are they consistent with what kind of damage made with what?
The injuries were life-threatening. They put her into a state of being unconscious. She was not talking. She basically could flutter her eyes and move her hands a little bit. Over a 4-day period, they had her laying on a pallet in the house. I will not, at this point in time, go into the injuries, detail on the injuries or how they happened, because I'm not 100% sure. And I don't want to sit up here and tell y'all these injuries happened this way, and I find out that they happened a different way. So we're going to get to the bottom of it before we address how the injuries occurred.
And obviously, that is the huge question that needs to be answered in this investigation. The initial injuries, how did it happen? What caused her to be in that state where she is just left in the home for 4 days as they try Smoothies to help her? Makes no sense. Like, the only reason you would do that is you don't want someone to know what happened, I think. Unless you just don't believe in medicine, but you ended up calling 911. So that doesn't make sense either. Let's try to get some more information here. Joining us, our special guest, deputy editor of mysa.com, the sister site of the San Antonio Express News. Warren Brown is with us. Warren, this story has a lot of people on social media, I know, like angry, really angry, but also a little confused about this very bizarre situation. Since this press conference given by the sheriff, has there been any more information about the initial injuries that this 12-year-old suffered?
No, unfortunately, there hasn't been. The sheriff has been very clear that he is not going to engage in any sort of hypotheticals until this autopsy is complete. He has mentioned that there could be upgraded charges if the investigation bears additional details that might show that this mother and stepfather are responsible for the injuries. But as of now, we're still kind of in a hovering pattern, waiting to see more.
But did I understand the sheriff correctly that the mother and stepfather did give their version, their story about what had happened or what they thought had happened to the daughter?
Yes, what's interesting is we have all this information about the 4-day period and the attempts to try to nurse Miranda back to health with smoothies and vitamins, and all that comes from Ms. Balvanetta and Mr. Gonzalez from the interview process with investigators. So, you know, they haven't been trying to hide every detail, but it does seem that there might be some more information that we're still waiting to find out. And the timing of it all after 4 days is interesting to me because when you look at it, there was initially some online speculation that, oh, well, she's a cheerleader, maybe this happened during some sort of practice, but school didn't start until 3 days after these injuries. 4 days after these injuries. And the sheriff ruled that out. But what's interesting to me about it is that after missing the first day of school, that's when Ms. Balvanetta reached out to police or called 911. And it may have been because, you know, she would have missed from school and someone may have noticed. So there's some interesting things that just don't fit together. And it'll be interesting to find out more as this investigation continues.
Do we know if there's been a search of the home yet?
Yes. So almost immediately after Miranda died on Monday night, investigation began, and they went by the house and they took a look at the living situation, and the details were that it was an unkempt house, as I believe what the sheriff said. And so we know that much. We know that she was kept on a pallet or on the floor itself for 4 days. And unfortunately, you know, what's very tragic about this is that, you know, we won't ever know, but if she'd gotten help at some point during that time, you know, could she have been saved? And, you know, we'll see.
Do we know anything about the history of the family or the history of the relationship? Mom, stepdad, were they married or were they just sort of living as, you know, an unofficial stepfather, and how long he had been in their lives?
No, we don't have that detail. We do know that Balvanetta did have another child, but that child lived with the father elsewhere. So in terms of whether they are married or not, we're not sure how long that relationship is going on is, still unclear.
And how about the community? My guess is this is a relatively small community. Well, what's been the reaction there?
It's Christine, Texas is a town of less than 400. And, these communities, they come together in times like this. And, we've seen a GoFundMe started for funeral expenses by family members. And they've raised, several $1,000s in short order. And so there is, an outpouring of, concern and love for Miranda. And we also know that they've had counselors at the school for her schoolmates just to try to help them process and get through this.
How about any sort of, were there problems in the past? Were there issues in the past that we know of?
We have some details here. It's a bit limited, but we do know that there had been calls out to this home in the past. This was, again, the sheriff has been keeping details close to the chest. So what those calls were about, we're not sure, but we do know that police had been out there before. Now, part of what's interesting here is, after waiting 4 days, Balvanetta calls 911 from the house, but does not wait for EMS to get there. Instead, she took Miranda in her car and started driving away from the house and was eventually instructed to meet EMS on the side of the road. And this is where the sheriff has, suggested that perhaps Balvanetta did not want investigators or police coming by the house, which may have contributed to why she waited 4 days to take action. And so we're still waiting to see what they might have been trying to hide. But as the sheriff pointed out, there's a little irony to it, because now with what's happened to Miranda, there's all this attention being cast towards his family and what they might have been trying to hide.
We're going to learn every detail. The 12-year-old girl is dead. She should not be dead. And the investigation is going to be intense. Warren Brown from mysa.com. Appreciate your time tonight, and I'm sure we'll be speaking again as more things develop in this case. Thanks so much. When we come back, we're going to bring in our think tank, get their take on this investigation, where it is now, where it could end up, plus coming up next hour.
Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, the torture, sexual abuse, and murder of Jennifer Paxton. Sean Finnegan and his fiancée, Rebecca Dishman, both implicated but pointing the finger at each other. We'll investigate.
Reporter brutally murdered for digging too deep.
His death was absolutely devastating.
The suspect, the former politician and subject of the victim's story on corruption.
Can you tell us anything?
Now will Robert tell us, go from elected official to convicted killer.
Once all the evidence comes out, it'll be clear as day.
Is it possible that bad press is a motive for murder?
The investigative reporter murder trial. Live coverage today on Court TV.
Just for the sake of argument, throw out how the injuries occurred. Throw that out the window. You still have a duty as a parent to provide medical care for a 12-year-old child. And that's what we're talking about right here. Sure. We're not talking about them assaulting the child, trying to kill the child, or anything like that. We're talking about them failing to act and get that 12-year-old girl medical attention like she should have gotten.
So this is one of the rare cases where you have people being charged for doing nothing. 12-year-old Miranda was relying upon her mother and her stepfather to help her, to get her the medical attention that she needed after something happened, which is still a mystery and is being investigated. Take a look at the law in Texas, and it's similar around the country. A person commits an offense if he recklessly, by omission, causes to a child, elderly or disabled, serious bodily injury. An omission that causes this condition is conduct constituting an offense if the actor has a legal or statutory duty to act or has assumed the care, custody, or control of a child. And that's exactly what's happening here. Exactly what's happening here. So, it's a rare case where you get charged for doing nothing. But the investigation is continuing. Let's bring in our think tank. Joining me tonight, the Chief Public Defender for Oakland County, Michigan. No. That is Senior Homicide. Now you switched. Now I'm totally messed up. Let me start from the beginning. Let me put Bernarda Villalona up first. There she is. She's the founder of Villalona Law, former senior homicide prosecutor. She's joining us from New York City. Also with us, Paulette Lofton, Chief Public Defender, Oakland County, Michigan, represented one of the shooters up there. Joining us from Troy, Michigan. Also with us, Randy Kessler, family law attorney, law professor, Emory University. He's joining us from the ATL. Welcome, everyone. Great to see you. Thanks for being with us. Bernarda, this is one of the rare cases where a prosecutor can charge someone for doing nothing.
Yes. It's unfortunate because Miranda should be alive with us. She should be with us today, but because of the failure to act, failure to just provide the basic necessities and the basic care of this 12-year-old child, that she's dead now. Nothing to say that, well, even if she would have took her to the hospital, she would still be alive. We don't know that yet. But it's the failure to act is what has both of these people charged. Miranda can't tell us what happened, but her autopsy is going to be able to give us insight as to why she died, what caused her death. I would love to see also the toxicology. I want to see and know what her injuries were, and we'll be able to know that once an autopsy is done. And don't be surprised if you see that these charges are upgraded.
Paulette, is there any difference between the mother and the stepfather? Now, I don't know if they're married. Say, for instance, they never got married. They're just living together, and they call him the stepfather, but he's not actually the stepfather. Is there any difference? Can he say, listen, not my child?
I don't think there's any difference. Obviously, if you're an adult and he was there those 4 days, he is taking that duty on. Obviously, he's the adult there, whether mom was there every moment or not. If he was there and he saw the child struggling for 4 days or participated in trying to give her a smoothie, I heard also that they attempted to give her oxygen. If he was watching her decompensate, he should have made that call. So I don't think that there's any real distinction. I think both of them will end up being charged with whatever it is the final charges are.
Okay, let's take a listen to the sheriff again, just to remind everyone about the ongoing investigation here. Take a listen.
I will not, at this point in time, go into the injuries, detail on the injuries or how they happen, because I'm not 100% sure. Now, I don't want to sit up here and tell y'all these injuries happened this way, and I find out that they happened a different way. So we're going to get to the bottom of it before we address how the injuries occurred. But as to how the injuries occurred exactly, we still have a little bit of doubt. We need to figure that out before I'm standing up here and say, yes, it happened this way. We know what she told us.
So the mother's speaking, Randy, and has given a story. She's locked into that story. So now, if that story doesn't match up with what the autopsy says, then we got a problem.
We do, and look, I think these charges are sort of like a placeholder, right? They're going to be the lesser included offense. This is a reason to be able to put them in jail with a very high bond to keep them there while they do the investigation, and they're almost guaranteed, right, to be charges of murder. What degree, what level, who was more culpable. Once that comes out, this is sort of the safety net for the prosecution, that if we can't prove that they caused the injury, at least we got them on this. The easiest answer is usually the answer. They did something wrong. They were trying to cover it up, hoping they could fix it, hoping it would go away, hoping their body would heal, and they would be off the hook. Well, the best laid plans fail. And so, yes, you're exactly right, Vinny. This is going to be it's going to be a murder, and it's going to be a murder charge, and it's not going to be by omission. That's going to be, if you can't believe that they murdered her, then you can at least convict her on this omission law.
Now, I want to show you this, Bernard. This is from KSAT 12 out there in Texas. They requested records from the Atascosa County Sheriff's Office and showed that 3 calls were made to the home prior to that Monday. March 28th, 2024, deputies were called for a welfare check after a female was seen with scratches on her. Records show a deputy was sent to the home and both a male and female stated it was all verbal. November 1st, 2023, Jordantown Elementary School called CPS to report marks on a child. CPS called authorities to report the information. Records show no further information about the case was revealed in those documents. October 29th, a couple days before that, a person called authorities and reported Gonzalez was at the location and refused to leave. Authorities responded and the parties were separated. So it seems like there is something brewing inside of that home, Bernarda.
Yes, and these actions, these calls, actually, they'll probably use it as the basis when they do upgrade these charges, or at least as the theory when this does go to trial, that there is something more to this. It wasn't just a one-off. So these officers will be called also as witnesses for their observations. I would love to see the body camera footage for these 3 instances where the officers actually responded. But for the last call, though, I believe they said that Gonzalez to leave, and Gonzalez is his stepfather. So that actually works in his favor because at least for this one charge of omission, he can argue, look, I don't live there. I go there from time to time. You know, we're together, but not living in the same house. But again, it's still too early. We really need to wait on that autopsy. Just like Randy said, this is just a placeholder, these charges, until they figure out exactly what happened. And that's going to be when the autopsy and the toxicologist deal.